What's going on? Real quick, just wanted to let you know about an amazing opportunity that Coach Josh and myself have for the month of February. So right now we're looking to do a test group to show you that you have what it takes to lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Now, this is for you if you've been struggling, you've been spinning your wheels, you've been spending years, months, days, whatever the time frame is, and you just haven't seen any change. Our mission together is to show you that you can actually still have your favorite foods, live a life, and still get some incredible results. And I want to show you that you have what it takes and get you guaranteed results. So right now we're looking to take on 5 people, and this is a paid program, but we do guarantee results, so there's no risk involved. First link down below, just take 5 minutes, fill out the application. There's literally no risk, and I can't wait to work with you and help you on your fitness journey. Now into the episode.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And this is Motivation Monday. We are checking in from beautiful, sunny Florida, so it's nice to have some sun on our face while we do this. We got our coffee ready to go, just crushed a workout at our favorite gym, had our favorite Chipotle place, and yes, we do have a favorite Chipotle place. We actually did a challenge there. For those of you who've been listening for a while, we ate everyday Chipotle for 60 days, made it fit within our goals, and still got phenomenal results. So that was pretty crazy and really fun. And it just goes to show you, I posted this on our stories the other day, like a great day can be so simple, and I encourage you to have one today. You're tuning into a phenomenal podcast. Eat some great food, get some exercise in, focus on some self-growth, and celebrate a phenomenal day ahead. And we're going to start it excellent with this Motivation Monday. And as always, we're going to kick it off with our primary question. So sit back, relax, and let's crush it together today. So the first question is, when you're in a reverse diet, how do you get over or best deal with being fluffy? Although my scale is only up a few pounds and staying perfectly consistent, it's getting in my head a bit. And this is from one of our clients, Michelle. She shared this with us, and this was to my challenge last week where I said, hey, if you have a question, shoot that over. I'll get right back to you over voice note. And we got so many amazing questions. So I want to thank you guys for reaching out with that. It was really awesome to see what's on everyone's minds and to inspire some future Motivation Monday episodes with just some purpose and some excitement. So to this question, and for those of you that don't know what a reverse diet is, I want to start there because it sounds sexy. We've spoken about it before, but if you haven't heard it, reverse diet, who wants to diet? I want to do the opposite of dieting, right? I want more calories and I want to be shredded. And what's crazy is a reverse diet is too good to be true, except it's not. What it is when you've completed a diet and you're in a big deficit and you've suppressed your hormones, you reverse that process by intelligently reintroducing calories so that you can either continue to lose weight with more calories, or you can maintain or gain minimal weight while getting back to your maintenance. So theoretically, let's say I'm 200 pounds or I'm 220 pounds, let's say, and I dieted hard to 200, and I started with 3,500 calories, but I ended up eating 2,200 calories. I'm in a deficit of 1,300 calories across losing that 20 pounds, and my maintenance will be in a different position. So from here, theoretically, if I was able to drive those calories back up to 3,500 while staying near that 200-pound mark, even like 205, I would be net down 15 pounds and eating the same calories that I was at 220. So this is an amazing process, and I've done this so much, and myself and Kyle are experts with this with our clients, and I find most of my clients that I do reverse actually eat more food. That if fat continues, their hormones improve, ghrelin, leptin, testosterone, growth hormone, all these things, when they're optimized, your body starts working better, you start sleeping better, your energy's higher. So most often the weight continues to drop. What's tough with this, and in this question, I love that point of fluffy, because I think in general, fluffy is a mindset more than it is a reality. And what's important to remember, when you diet, you are actually training yourself in a way to say, okay, I'm losing weight. Scale going down is good. Me eating less calories and being accurate at that is good. Anything else is bad. So you start to become a little obsessed with that process and the excitement behind that process, that it's a little bit of an adjustment when you're reverse dieting. And even if you're having a net win, if you've increased your calories 500 to 1,000 calories, even if your weight's up 1 to 2 pounds, you'll feel like, oh, I was better at that 200 mark. It's hard being up to 205. And in your head, you'll start to feel a little more fluffy because you'll have more food volume in your stomach. You'll perhaps be a couple pounds heavier. You'll be more full. And I find one of the best things to do with this is like after a great workout, go look in a mirror. Anytime I've done a reverse diet or I've finished a cutting phase and I pulled out of it, you enjoy being lean, but a lot of the time when you're lean, you don't look your best because you're like desaturated, your muscles are less full, you're holding less sodium and water, and you look more flat. Whereas when you begin to reintroduce calories, your muscle bellies look fuller and healthier, and it can feel intrinsically like it's more fat or you're heavier. But oftentimes, after a great pump, you look in the mirror and you'll be like, dang, I actually look really, really good. So I encourage a lot of my clients that are dealing with that mindset. And it's also a good way to detune yourself from that association of scale going down is the only good result. And that's where it's really important to actually have phasing in mind when you're dieting. Because if you just diet to oblivion, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be demotivational and you're going to break from it. And at the same time, if you're like too like wishy-washy with what you do and you diet for a week and then you go on vacation and you binge out and you just eat all the tacos and margaritas and you go, I'm reverse dieting, haha. That's not how it works. And reverse dieting in general is something you need to be incredibly strict with, because if you veer from its fundamental principles, you're going to be in a position where you're not going to be able to see progress. And maybe we'll let Kyle jump more into like how to successfully reverse diet.
Yeah, so that was a great explanation from Coach Josh. And I'm going to jump into the logistics of this because so many people will complete a diet and they just have no idea where to go from there. And I find the average person who ends up losing weight, they end up gaining a lot of weight back afterwards just because they don't implement a reverse diet. They don't know how to do it. And even if they do know how to do it, it's also very hard to stick to because you subconsciously start to think, okay, well, I'm done with this diet phase. I'm done losing body fat. Nothing else matters, right? You start to bring your calories back up to around maintenance or above. And especially that free for all mindset that Josh said. Oh man, I've seen it so many times where someone's like, hey, I lost 20 pounds. I'm so happy for this trip, whatever it is. And then I'm just back to square one. I need your help. And obviously, we've helped so many people within this. And the biggest thing, and first of all, like my main step for each person is to make sure that they're actually ready for a reverse diet. And right now, I'm taking a few of my clients through this who have done 12 to 16 week diet phases where they've essentially lost a lot of body fat. They got to the point where at the very end, they were actually quite hungry. They kept up their protein. They got such incredible results. Now, at this point, there's three things that could take place. You could continue to diet for the rest of your life, which usually is not the best option and not healthy for you, or you could just start eating as much as you want, which is also not the best option. And the third step, which we're talking about here, is reverse dieting. So I get their progress photos, we get measurements, and then step by step, every single week when I do a client check-in, I'll make sure that everything's looking great. Their hunger, their calories are on point, their weigh-ins especially, right? Because we want to aim for a reverse diet to bring up the weight very slightly, right? If I start giving you more calories and let's say you end your diet phase at 1,400 calories and I bring you up to 1,700, but then you're just gaining a bunch of weight throughout that time and it's like 3 pounds per week, that's just not going to be the best approach. Like those numbers aren't what's going to actually work. And that's why I can't stress how important it is to actually have progress and different ways to measure progress throughout this. So when my client checks in every single Friday or Saturday, I'll take a look at the spreadsheet. I'll see exactly how they're feeling. I'll ask questions about how they're feeling. I'll ask questions to make sure that they're at a good solid point within their food. And then I'll establish, hey, if weight hasn't gone up and you're starting to burn more calories because you are eating more food and your workouts are better, let's bump the calories up maybe 50 to 100 per week. And for some clients, I've literally bumped up their calories every single week for the last 8 weeks. And they went from about 1,350 calories all the way to 2,150, which is awesome. And they gained like 1.5 pounds. Their photos are looking greater. They're actually looking leaner as they put on more muscle mass. And that's the beauty of reverse diet. But the main thing I need to leave you with here is that it is so different. Like I will give different numbers for each person, and then someone starts to move more, and then they can take in more calories. And then some people, it's just kind of the same stuff that they were doing before. They'll gain weight a bit quicker. So I have to scale down just a little bit. But each week, if you evaluate to see your average weigh-ins, you're taking consistent progress photos and your measurements, as well as monitoring your energy levels and food satisfaction, you can start to make those choices as to how many calories to bring in each week. Now, the hardest thing is doing it by yourself because you become so emotionally attached to the right numbers. And like similar to this question, when you're doing it by yourself and you start to see like a little ounce of belly fat that maybe wasn't there from before, you start to just make these emotional decisions. So, yeah, that's why we're doing this test group. Obviously, we'll be able to help you out. And that's kind of the logistics of it. And I'm sure Josh has something to say as well.
Yeah, a lot of it is strategic planning. I think it's really easy, and perhaps you're in the situation, you start dieting, you start eating healthier, you start going to the gym, weight will fall off pretty naturally, and it's pretty easy at the start. It's getting to that more elite level of getting really lean or just taking off that last bit of stomach fat. That's where you have to dig a little deeper, and you'll find that maybe you got away with a reasonable cut of like 30% of your calories and you're able to ride that for 10, 20 pounds. And then after that, you're kind of like, oh, well, I'm kind of comfortable at this number. I'm already a bit hungry. And that's where you have to get more strategic within the tactical plan to lose weight. And that's where reverse diet, knowing that that's on the other side, knowing that when you finish that dying phasing, it's really amazing. And just the same, I think people get confused because they'll think they're reverse dieting when they haven't completed enough of their diet. And that's more of like a diet break or like a mini reverse diet, if you will, because if you only lose like 10, 20 pounds and bring up maintenance, but you still want to lose 30 more pounds, like there's going to be some push pull in terms of you feeling like, okay, I do want to keep losing weight. Like, even though this calories is refreshing and sometimes having that break is good, right? Like having that little bit of a pace from like a dieting phase to coming out of it to be able to re-enter it. Because I know some people psychologically have a hard time feeling like they're dieting forever. For me, I was always more of like a sprint, not jog person. I just like to get stuff done. I'm down to suffer for a bit to try to get things completed faster. Some people are more comfortable dieting longer, doing a slower diet and feeling it less psychologically, feeling less hunger throughout the day, having more flexibility. And I think that's where strategically you need to know where you are. You need to know what you're working towards, when to utilize a reverse diet, when to utilize refeeds, diet breaks, like all these different things are tools in your arsenal to make this as strategic and easy as possible. And that's why even within our coaching and with this test group, it's so nice knowing you have all these tools at your disposal and you're on the right plan for you. Because I think some people diet too aggressive when they're not that person. Like they're really they're social, they like going out and they like doing all these different things. And I think they want it fast, but they're comfortable waiting because they're already at a good place. And some other people would go too slow and they'd be better just to like lock in and get a little harder with it. Some people will dig further than they need to when they could probably benefit from reverse diet and still lose weight at that level of calories and drive up that calories and still continue to advance. So there's just so many nuances that come into it, but I did want to add those caveats because a reverse diet really needs to be earned. And just that beginner, like losing weight in the easier phase, you're probably not at a position where you need it. You could strategically rebuild to maintenance and get there from there. But there's a lot of nuance here, and everyone is so different. And I think that's the big thing too, right? Is that everyone is different and nothing is final. Like Kyle said, there's never a point when you're done your diet and you can just eat whatever you want and eat like garbage, right? You're always going to need to be to a degree mindful and reasonable. And then there's never a point where you perfectly reverse diet. You're never going to want to change again. Like there's always an adjustment. Even today in the gym, there's a guy that's looking pretty jacked. He's pretty full. And I was like, oh, that is good motivation to bulk it up a little. So I think that's what keeps it fun and dynamic as well. And instead of just being static in your journey, you can kind of feel like, I'm doing so much work and not seeing these swings or this progress I want. So that's where I think tactical planning is so important more than anything else.
Yeah, and the last two things I'll say, because I get asked about reverse diets a lot, and I hear a lot of people who aren't ready for it that actually will try to implement it. Like Josh was saying, like some people, when I talk to them about their numbers, I'll be like, hey, like, how have you been doing? They're like, oh, I've been eating healthier. But like, I think I need to like do a reverse diet. Or like some people will do 5 days on, 2 days off, like on the weekend and feel like they're needing to do a reverse diet. But like, I cannot stress enough that it needs to be a very specific amount of time where you're fully locked in. And like if you're doing 1 week on, 1 week off, like a lot of these different things, or maybe you've lost like 5 pounds, which is awesome. Like most people, like Josh said, have not earned that right. And it just, when our clients come through our program, like a lot of them are at that point where it's like, okay, we need to figure out that next step. So we're actively creating a system where they can succeed long term. And that's why we walk them through reverse diets. And that's why we're such experts at it. And the last thing I'll say in terms of this kind of fluffy feeling, and when you do either, even if it's like a lean bulk or just like bringing yourself back up to maintenance, which is essentially what a reverse diet is and all that great stuff, what I really like to do is look at all of the benefits. Because once again, when you get to that point where you become leaner, you get great results, that becomes your new norm and what you're used to, right? So you start to see yourself with, like the striations you see, like the muscle definition, all that great stuff. So on a day where you are up 1.5 pounds over, even if it's like a couple week period, or you're up a couple pounds, whatever that number is, when you look at yourself in the mirror, sometimes it can be tough. Whereas as a coach, I'm able to like give such great feedback. So when I review everyone's measurements and I see that they're up 2 inches in like the legs that they're looking to improve, or their glutes, or their shoulders, and I can look through that and see that we're hitting new strength related PRs, and your calories went from 1350 all the way to 1950. Every single time I'm able to highlight those things to my clients, and they're like, man, that's so true. Like, yes, I might be a little bit, once again, because it's all in our mind as well, like unhappy with a specific thing, such as a number or a look, because that's what you're used to. And then you realize, wow, like there's 7 other amazing things that are going on with this. And that's something important to remember, especially during these tougher times where you are doing a bit of a leaner bulk or just increasing your calories. It's always important to remember those other metrics.
Yeah, it's very hard not to get emotional in this journey. And that's where having someone on your side who doesn't have that emotional buy in, who can look at things more pragmatically and rationally, is so essential. Cause I've been there as well. I've been like crazy lean. I remember competing for a show, and I remember thinking, oh, just a little more. And like, I'll be at that point where I'm going to take a ton of photos and look really good. And then also at that time, I thought, oh, I'm so skinny, I'm so small. And then you'd bulk and you'd be like, oh, I miss when I was lean, and like, oh, I don't know, I'm not big enough yet. And it's just so easy to get in your head about it. And I think that's where also like having someone on that side, even with my clients, sometimes they'd be like, coach, I want to reverse that. I'm like, okay, well, you told me your goal is to lose 10 more pounds here of fat, and I know you want to do this, and we've only been dieting for like 2 weeks. I understand it's a little hard, but we got to bite our teeth down if you want to achieve this goal and just get this done. Sometimes it'd be like, oh shoot, you're so right, I had a moment of weakness, I had a couple of bad days. And I think that's where it's really important. You push your goals intelligently. You don't do it in a way that's overly draining or taking too big of a toll on you. But when you do it right as well, and you use flexible dieting, and you maximize your macronutrients to be as efficient as possible, you can be more satisfied during that process. You can be less exhausted. It can take less of a toll. And most people don't need to be getting hyper lean. Like, dieting really can be pretty easily when you go about it the right way. So I really encourage you to start thinking about this and avoid flip-flopping, avoid making mistakes, because you can make dieting so punishing and you can be so resentful to it. And it can feel, maybe even if you listen to this, like impossible. And that's where you get statements like deficits don't work for me, when in reality they work for everyone. And it's just because you tried something maybe too extreme or went about it the wrong way and it didn't work. And that's where, to what I said before, like your psychology matters, your situation matters, your time frame, your expertise. All these things need to be taken into account. Like, the way I diet will be so different from how Kyle diets, how someone else diets. And even using these tools, right? Using them at the correct times is different for everybody. Everyone has different caloric allotments. I've mentioned before, I have clients that are 110 pounds eating like 1,200 calories. I have clients that are 110 pounds eating 3,500 calories and not gaining weight. Like, everyone is so different. And that's where you really need to focus on your own journey, your own situation, and be pretty strategic with what you're doing, and understanding too to love the process, because there isn't a rush. And I think when you're on a pathway that you're comfortable with, you're confident on, you feel security in, you still have a life, you're not unreasonably hungry, like it's not too bad, and you'll enjoy the different phases of it more.
Yeah. And so, with that, once again, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of numbers to figure out. There's a massive strategy behind all this. Please let us take the guesswork out of the process. Just fill out that application, first link. We will be there for you. We'll emotionally detach from the journey and be able to get you guaranteed results. So, if there's any confusion on your journey, like, you need help, and we will be that help for you. And we can't wait to work with you.
And now we're going to go ahead and jump into our quotes. This is the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast for a reason. So I wanted a quote more around happiness today. And my quote is, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And I've thought about that a lot recently. Like, there's even been times like I've held the door for someone that kind of gave me a weird look, walked through, said nothing, and you kind of get mad at them. But even in those moments, I think anything you do small, even if it's taken advantage or not received nice, I think also there's the benefit of making other people feel good and also making yourself feel good. I've spoken before on the podcast on the concept of going first. And it's funny, Kyle actually wants to make a reel about the guy in the gym that looks really intimidating, scary. That's actually the nicest. Like most of the people in the gym I've ever seen that just look like, oh my gosh, if I walk into this guy, is just gonna beat me up and hit me over the head with a dumbbell. Those people, when you talk to them, they'll be like, oh, thanks, man. Like that's awesome. Like you've been like it's always so funny how it goes. And I think going first is like that too, like act of kindness. So if you're walking and someone looks really angry and mad and you say, hey, or how are you doing? Like sometimes you'll just see their whole demeanor change, their face light up, they'll stand taller, they'll warm up. So I think in general, just trying to be a leader instead of trying to be on the receptive end of kindness, of grace, it just feels really good. And I think it's a great reminder. And obviously being back home, for us it's so cold, it's brutal, and people are more grumpy, right? So it's funny coming to a warmer climate and just seeing more joy, more nice comments. And it reminds me, even when it's tougher and everyone's in that survival freeze mode, to do a little bit better. So I think that was just something I thought of. And I also think you can inspire a lot of people by being kind, being optimistic. And what came to mind, I'm jumping a little ahead to my thoughts, but I was walking in the gym, and I guess one of the trainers or class instructors, she had come in and she said, hey, to one of the other trainers. He said, hey. And then she's like, another day. And then the guy said, another day to be great. And I was like, oh, I love that, because the first was like, it's just a nice thing to say, I guess, like, oh, it's another day. But I love how we reframe that. And he said, it's another day to be great. Like it makes that day feel like an opportunity. And I mentioned to Kyle even recently, I saw a video talking about how important it is whenever someone says, how are you doing? Not to say, okay, not to say not the best, not to say, it's going by. Instead to say, I'm doing fantastic. Life is amazing. I got so much exciting thing. Like when you say positive talk like that, and that's why it's a happy podcast, it honestly makes you feel good. It makes you feel inspired. Whereas it's tempting to be negative and talk about all the bad things and the horrible things. But I think when you can reframe that, and the more you mention the good things, and you even trick yourself, if you're not having the best day, to say, I'm doing fantastic. I'm blessed. I'm really thankful for another day. Like as silly and gimmicky as it sounds, I encourage you to try more this week. And I think you'll be pretty happy being nicer to other people, being generous to other people. Like once again, we spent a little more on the technical fitness. So I wanted to move over to the happiness. But once again, my quote is, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
I'm glad Josh mentioned that, because even I was thinking of like a recent tweet post, or I guess when we used to do tweet posts, I remember we put it together, and I know Josh actually referenced it, where it was just kind of like a good life is easy, right? Like a good walk, some amazing time with family, a good meal, a good night's sleep. And obviously, I'm happier here in Florida. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, because the sun is shining. It's beautiful. But I'm just sitting here. I'm like, man, I've been really trying to appreciate the small things. Like, even if it's like 30 minutes sitting by the pool, or just like a little bit of sunlight, or our Chipotle bowl that we absolutely love, or just like the gym. Like, I'm just really trying to find like the great in everything. And I feel like the more that I look for those things and I actually appreciate it, it just makes me so much happier. So just a friendly reminder, like just try to look at things, even if it's like a cup of water, where you're like, man, I'm just excited to actually be able to have water. I know that's random. I just see my water ball in front of me, but it's a random example that just I truly believe leads to better long-term happiness. And something I've been thinking about here, and I made this quote up actually the other day in the car. It is, you will always normalize what you begin to do regularly. So I just thought of this because here in Florida, obviously, like people are on their phones like crazy. And I started to notice myself at stoplights consistently checking, and just going down a bad path of just like doing what everyone else is doing around me, and what I started to normalize. And I feel like when it comes down to like our fitness journey and our habits, literally everything we do is just what we consider to be normal, right? Like if you begin to start heavily drinking, it's just because likely the people around you are doing that, and it's just what you consider to be your new norm. And so I have had many phases in my life where I did a lot of, heavy drinking in the past. When I was growing up, I did different things where I would like sleep in longer, and like I would go to bed a little bit later, and just like I've had to actively work through kind of these bad habits where it just is what I thought was kind of normal. And I feel like I'm always trying to like make sure everything is in line with what I want to do. And the easiest way is to also get around people who are actively doing that, right? So seeing the way Josh operates, seeing the way, just everyone around me, like, clients are just crushing it. And the example of the phone is just like, because everyone else is doing it, it's what you associate with like kind of being normal. So I'm like, you know what? I can't think this way. I need to break this habit before it becomes worse. So yeah, just a random example that I tied into fitness, but I thought it was pretty applicable and I wanted to share that with you today.
Yeah, they say it's really hard to break a bad habit, but it's incredibly easy to form one. So I think it is good to be critical too. Sometimes be like, oh, I've been doing this a lot. Should I maybe cut that down a bit or revisit that habit? And I mentioned even that other time, like where I was having sweets for whatever reason more often. I don't usually have a ton. I don't even think about sweets too often. But it's funny when you do it, it's just like something you do. So that is a really good point. Or every time I rock climbed once and I got pasta, and to this day, when I go rock climbing at that specific place, I think I want pasta. And it's just funny how the brain works, right? But I guess we'll jump more into our thoughts. So obviously we're in Florida. We're at Dunkin', and my question to everyone is: every time I go to Dunkin', all the workers there are like stone cold, like they're just no emotion, like just super like ice cold. I don't know if this is every Dunkin' ever. I want to know if this is like a universal thing across America or not. I've kind of just had a consistent experience there, and I try so hard. I'm like, please, thank you. I hope you're having a great day. So that's kind of a fun, different thing. But it's always fun to try different coffees, have different energy. We got a large here today too. That's how you know it's going to be a good episode. But past that, we obviously in Florida, challenge is finished. So I'm feeling fired up. I'm feeling excited for my personal journey as well as my clients. And it's just been absolutely amazing seeing everyone crush the challenge between myself, Coach Kyle, and Coach Krista. We had 50 people fully complete the challenge, 50 plus people to earn the t-shirts. And those t-shirts were earned, not given. So that was for people who fully did the challenge, who really stepped up, stepped outside of their comfort zone and got through it. And the whole theme of this episode too is when you finish something, like don't let yourself devolve. Stay at that level and aim to grow past it, right? Don't just reset to bad habits, because that action almost becomes pointless. And I see this a lot. And one thought would be physique competitors, people who lose weight, begin to look good. Eventually, they want to do a show. When you do a show, arguably, you're going to look the best you've ever looked at that position of time you step on stage. The problem is it's not realistic. You played around with carbs, you played around with sodium, you've dieted extremely hard. And usually when you pop out of that, that's where you'll see competitors gain like 10, 20, 30 pounds back really quick. And at the same time, this is where me and Kyle used to be against challenges. And a lot of our current challenges are made to be complementary to the coaching program and towards sustainability and health. Because what's tough with something like that, and kind of like a curse I see to a lot of people who end up doing shows, like just to be honest with you, is they do this, they look really good. And then after that show, like they just reset, they take a big breath that they're done that show. They end up getting the weight back, if not more. And they're always associating themselves with like, I need to get back to that position of when I was locked in, things were perfect, when I was competing, when I looked my best. So that is where you want to be careful of that trap as well. You need to appreciate every part of the journey. You want to avoid really big swings. You especially want to avoid metabolic damage. And it's not that lots of people don't do this. This is just kind of like a general thing I kind of see. And it's this battle of like, I need to be good again. I need to get back to that flow. And especially when it's done in a way that isn't sustainable and that's not the healthiest, with really firm meal plans, without any social life, with locking yourself in a box and being away from everyone, right? It creates this divide to like, how can I make fitness fit into our life? And that's why we designed our coaching program to teach you, you can still go to dinners, you can still be with your friends, you can still have all your favorite foods. No foods are off limits. You don't need to be in the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours. Like you can do what's reasonable for you to get the best results for your goals. So that was just one more thought I had, especially as we've been talking a lot about dieting and different phases of the journey.
Yeah, our challenges are like all about sustainability, and stay tuned because in the coming months we'll have another one. We always like to do a spring challenge, sorry, but it's just been so cool to see everyone crush it. And like it's so amazing because even like our weekly goal this week with our challenges is to take what we learned in this past challenge and then reset your mindset and reset what you want to accomplish going forward. Take the no drinking and use it how you want. Take the step goal and start to dedicate a new game plan. And yeah, it's just been so cool to see. But one thought I had, and the main thing on the top of my head, is just the power of perspective. So there's three things I'm specifically thinking of as we have driven to Florida and are here now. The first thing was was the first night in South Carolina last year. I just remember walking the dogs. We got there. It was pouring rain. It was cold. It sucked. And I just did not love it. And then this time around, it was still cold, but I'm like, so I was so happy to be outside because I was able to appreciate how bad it was before. And then now, even though it wasn't perfect, I was like, yes, like this is awesome. And then even being here in Florida, it's funny because everyone was like going crazy about how cold it was, and it was definitely for Florida weather, not compared to what we're used to back home. But now that it's starting to get better, it's just so you can appreciate it so much more because there were those freezy days. And then the last thing is that we went back to our new gym powerhouse. And I remember last year when we came here, and you guys probably remember as well, Josh had his dislocated shoulder. And so it was really cool when we came in here on Monday. He's like excited to use the machines that he wasn't able to fully use last
Yeah,
year.
even jumping in there, I was telling Kyle when I was driving down and it first got warmer, I rolled my window down. I put my arm out the window, which is something I love to do. It's always been like a comforting, cruising, wind in my hair, arm out the window. And when I dislocated my shoulder last year, the thought of that was impossible because it was my left shoulder. And I remember thinking how impossible, just the same as it would be for me to jump and be like Spider-Man upside down on the ceiling, like with my legs hanging, for me to actually, like, for those of you that see video, to lift my arm like this. Like, it's crazy. It's the smallest thing. And it's amazing to me how much can change in a year, how much can change through perspective, through a positive mindset. And even for me, I'm like, I refuse for the shoulder to be bad. And it's really cool to see that reward and to see all those dinky little rehab movements I was doing and stuff just to get to that moment. But like Kyle said, it is perspective because I never ever thought about, wow, I'm so glad I can lift my arm 3 inches over the door to put my arm out the window. But it is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, like it's not fun if you get injured, if you get sick, if the weather's horrible, if something bad happens in your life. Like it's never fun, but it's funny how it really makes you appreciate these things. So I try to think that way when something goes on in my life. I'm just like, you know what? We got to go through the tough times to experience the great times. Like, and then when you have those great times, such as just simply being able to use these cool machines that he wasn't able to use last year, like it really makes you appreciate it. And I think that's just so powerful. So just remember, if you're ever going through a tough time, you will get through it. And honestly, it'll be a great story and you'll be happy that you pushed through.
Yeah, and for our client shout out, we just want to shout out everyone who completed our challenge fully, as well as to everyone who participated. And I think the thing too is it's easy to say, I never want to fail again in life. I want to be perfect. I'm going to be perfect. That is a human condition, but it's also not realistic. So, what I respect the most is not people who are perfect, because usually people are perfect for a time and they veer off. Like the reality of life is things happen, life gets difficult, you will get knocked down. It's that you can get back up, you can adapt. And now coming out of the challenge, it's like, what's next? What can we revisit? How can we advance? And just the same, there are people that are perfect and continue to be perfect, but like anything in life, I think it's just having that desire to do better, to improve. And for us, this was a little opportunity for a month to really lock in, to elevate our standard, to reevaluate what things are in our life, as well as the many challenges we did. So, like how sweets were in our life, not realizing that, hey, I can hit my macros and still do all these things I love, reevaluating the position of alcohol, like just taking a critical look and doing that extra intensive to revisit it as we back away from it was absolutely phenomenal. And we're so proud of everyone that just killed it. And as well as our two grand prize winners, we did two $500 cash grand prize winners, as well as a teacher for anyone who fully completed the challenge, really locked in. So we like to reward all different positions of effort, but the biggest prize, of course, is the phenomenal results and the crazy progress in a month. We had several people losing 10 to 20 pounds, putting on tons of new muscle, hitting new PRs, realizing habits that they never thought they could do. And like this is just in a 1 month time frame. Like this is a tiny, tiny time frame. So I was fired up about that, but continue on. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, this week we have for the challenge we have Kim and Bobby, which is absolutely phenomenal. They crushed it. Bobby had lost about 7 pounds and Kim 11 pounds, and so phenomenal. Like each of their stories were different. What's interesting about Kim is that she really visualized winning. Like she had mentioned many times, I'm coming for that prize, and like her results were absolutely insane. She's a mother. She's busy. She's got a lot going on. So it's so cool to see her just fully lock in. And even Bobby, he was a bit unsure earlier on coming in here, and he ended up taking us up and he won a partial scholarship for the coaching program, which we had going on a couple months ago. And he came in here, gave it his all. And like, I always like to look at the different kind of parts of the journey where it was challenging. And even he was texting me one day. He was like, "Man, I'm trying everything. Like I'm super sick today. Like I'm doing what I can." And it's so awesome to see people overcome those obstacles. Like it's fun to see a journey that's just like linear and it's just like you show up and you just get killer results. But I love when people have things going on and they just always persevere and they always push through. And you'll see a bunch of amazing other transformations. Like it was around 60 people, I think just below, who like fully 100% completed it, which is awesome. We're going to have to send out those shirts in the coming week to everyone. And we already got all that information squared away. So just so phenomenal. And we're just so proud of every single person. And once again, if you are looking to get real results and actually see change and you want guaranteed results with accountability, fill out that first link. I promise you, it'll be the greatest thing you ever do for yourself. If you've never joined, now is the time, and we're going to help you on your fitness journey.
All right, now we're going to jump back into the mailbag for our second question of the day. And that is, what are some ways to help me mentally break through the mindset of needing to get results quickly? I've been losing 1 pound per week for a few weeks now and just want it all off ASAP.
It's a fantastic question. And my answers to start off might be a little bit different. And it, to be honest, wanting results quickly and like wanting to see change, like it's not a bad thing. Like even Josh was saying, like, I'd rather go through like a dieting phase and get it done quicker than just like have it be prolonged for the rest of my life. And like, that is totally fine. I think the biggest thing when you are wanting to do this quickly is to ask yourself like what is the reason, right? And for some people it'll be different. For some it is a vacation they're going on, and maybe a family trip, or whatever it is, maybe their kids being born and you want to just get the best results before that. Like when you understand why, instead of it just being like, oh my gosh, I just need it done quick. Like I find a lot of people who have no reasoning for it and they just like are super desperate to get it off quick. It gets a little bit challenging because they end up resorting to short-term measures. And what I will say on that note is if you want results quickly, that's no problem. Like we have literally had some people lose 30 pounds within a 90-day time frame. I'm thinking of a few people specifically. And at first I was like in the beginning stages of my coaching, I was like, oh, okay, like it's a little bit quickly, but no problem. And they kept it up. They kept seeing great results. We kept pushing through, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, because once you see momentum, you become addicted, right? Whereas if some people are just like, oh, I'm not seeing change, it's hard to fully buy in. So my point is, when you understand why and you actually have a game plan that is sustainable, that's the best approach, right? Instead of saying, you know what, I want it all off quick, so I'm going to starve myself. Like that's not right. But if you're like, hey, I want it all off quick, but I'm still going to keep my calories in check, and I'm going to make sure I'm in a big enough deficit to see great change, like 1 to 2, sometimes 3 pounds per week, depending on how much you have to lose. But I'm going to really try not to go down these short-term measures, because the day that you say, I'm going to buy a supplement, I'm going to take Ozempic, I'm going to take anything just to like speed it up and take all these different things and starve myself. And like, that's when you start to end up just losing muscle and just not being able to succeed, and you'll lose weight really quickly but then gain it all back afterwards. So yeah, hey, if you want to push and challenge yourself, let's do it quickly, but let's do it the safe way.
Yeah, there's being motivated for something and there's being desperate. And I was saying to Kyle recently just how desperation in general is never a great thing and patience is truly a virtue. But I understand it as well. And I think this is probably one of my biggest weaknesses is when I want something, I want it done. I want it out of the way. I want it closed out. And I've been trying to understand that I can only do what's in my control. And just the same, like if you want to lose like 20 pounds in a month, I can do that for you very easily. Like as long as adherence is there, especially with the systems, like anything can essentially be done. Now, there's what can be done and what should be done, right? They're two very, very different things. And that's where, as a coach, like my whole thing is I always want to get some of the best results, but I also don't want to break them, right? That's the problem. Like I could drive to the gym. If my map says 30 minutes, I could probably get there in 10 minutes. If I ran every red light, I just put my floor to the metal and I just didn't care. There's a great chance I'll be in a car crash or in prison. So that's not what we want to do. And it's the same with aggressive dieting, right? There's a reason you don't just starve yourself for a week, because the danger goes up so much higher. The threshold of that is way worse. So I think having the patience and understanding like tactically what is the best way to do it is so important, because if you go too hard, and you mess up and you screw things up, and even the concept of metabolic damage, like it's just going to naturally be worse for you. So I think in general, when you really set a clear plan, if you're like, okay, I want to be more aggressive in my cut, I'm pretty overweight and I want to take it seriously, I'm locked in, I'm in a great position to do so, I have a break from work, I have no distractions, I'm going to do 3 pounds a week. And you could say you want to lose 30 pounds. You're like, okay, that's reasonable over 10 weeks. From there, I'll reevaluate where I need to be. That's totally lose If you're just like, I want to lose 10 pounds this week and I'm just going to starve myself and only eat protein bars, like that's not good for you. It's your training's going to suck. You're going to be a horrible person to be around. Your sleep's going to suck. And like, where do you move from that? Like going back to what we said earlier, what is the tactical approach? Like once you're out of that, you're just gonna go back to your normal diet. You're gonna see most of that weight come back from food volume alone, as well as sodium and water retention. It's just gonna be like a waste of energy. You're gonna be miserable. It's gonna mess up your so there's a right and wrong way to do it. And I think I understand wanting to do things quick, but when you're on your path and you just know you're executing your path week after week, that is the best feeling. So in this case, did you hit your 3 pounds? Phenomenal. Did you hit 4 the next week? Awesome. You only got 2? Okay, well, you're still on track. You're at your 6 pounds in 2 weeks. And like, look at it that way. And then that way it can be more fun. It can be more immediate by breaking it into a weekly goal. And that's where we'll make weekly to bi-weekly changes for our clients so that it's frequent enough to be effective, but not too frequent to where it's redundant. So obviously more technical, but I did want to jump into that. Anything to add there?
Yeah, it's a numbers game. And like the way that we think and the way we operate after having over 5,000 people come in here is just very, we take like a full look of like, okay, what does this person need? And okay, they have these goals. Let's make a game plan and a roadmap to help them get there. Whereas a lot of people, they end up saying, oh, all right, I want to do this, whatever, and they just do whatever it takes. And it's like there's numbers that need to be involved, numbers need to be changed, there's a strategy, it needs to be tactical. And I can't stress that enough, because a lot of people just wake up, they do random things, they'll spend hours in the gym, do random stuff, and then it doesn't end up working. So you need to be strategic, and that's how you'll get the best results possible.
All right, for our third and final question out of the mailbag, quick question for you, coach. What do you think about wrist wraps? Had a great upper body lift today, but my forearms were killing me, and I feel like they held me back from doing more weight, especially on lat pull down and shoulder shrugs. What advice do you have for me?
Fantastic question. And yeah, so when it comes down to using the wrist straps, a lot of people, they end up relying on it. And this was a question from one of my great clients, Noah, and shout out to him for this awesome question and for this episode. But basically, like my biggest thing is I love going into the gym, and I was explaining this to him, like, and feeling unstoppable. So like there was a time in my life where I felt like I needed to use wraps, straps, all these different things, and I would just rely on it. And I was so patient to the point where like sometimes, yes, my forearms would give out, but because I've played the long game, I use chalk for deadlifts here and there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I'm unstoppable on back day. Like on pull day, I feel so incredible. And that's because I allowed myself to just consistently do all the pulling movements, every row, every pull down, every pull up, everything like that, and just naturally grow my calluses and just my hand strength and my grip strength. And I feel like because I've done that, like I'm in such a good position for life as long as I continue to do that. So straps, okay, no problem. It's just if you end up just simply relying on it, it's not the greatest approach, right? If you forget your gym bag, if you are on a trip and you don't have access to it, I think it's okay. Some people on their top sets, they'll use it for pull downs or shrugs and stuff like that. It's just I haven't used them, and I don't find many people, many of my clients do as well. I'm okay with it. It's just I'd prefer to just build my grip strength naturally.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one because a lot of people are just like, you got to be a raw lifter. Like you get in the gym, it's you and the weight, brother. No nonsense. Who needs a belt? Who needs this? And like I get that, right? Because if I'm out in the world, I need to lift something, I need to lift it. The reality is like I'm in the gym. So like if I want to bring knee sleeves, I'll bring knee sleeves. And to me, it's like utility. So to me, a belt is going to create inter-abdominal pressure. It's going to give you extra security. And all it's doing is like it pushing against your stomach like this is creating that pressure. It's forcing you to brace against it when you lift, which is cueing you to engage your abs, which is way safer than you engaging your back. You can do this without a belt. It's an extra tool to have that. There's also the additional psychological security of support. So to me, a belt is very worth it, especially when you get really strong and you're lifting 2 times your body weight. Belt is absolutely worth it to me. And I use one, and of course you could not use it. It's power to you. To me, I just want to stay as safe as possible. I can drive without a seatbelt and just drive carefully, but sometimes things are out of your control. Sometimes you slip, something crazy happens, you look over, you don't brace, and you pop your back or something. So to me, that's a benefit. Same with knee sleeves. For me, having consistent warmth and just keeping my joints warm around my knees, having that extra bounce, that extra support all day. I'm trying to keep my knees and back as safe as possible. Now, wrist wraps to me are like one I choose to avoid personally, especially straps. I actually started using them, but I think going back to what Kyle said at the start about like what you do, you normalize. It's real easy to just be like, "Oh, I need strap for just my heavy deadlifts." Then use it for all your deadlifts and use it for all your rows, all your lat pull downs. Then one day you go to the gym without it and you're like, "Oh, I can't do it." And I'm a big believer in a lot of my programming around your body wants to be symmetrical. So if you're outgrowing your grip strength, especially if you're a newer lifter, like Kyle said, there's an opportunity to improve that. Doing more farmer's walks, doing more heavy movements, more dead hangs, like naturally as well from heavier rows, like you'll notice your forearms will grow to actually kind of support that and be able to handle that weight. And to me, that's an important part of the journey. So if they are a big limitation, like that's just something you need to tactically program against and work through. And usually for me, like one program, like 1 3 month block, I suppose, of a training program, we always break through this and I can have them absolutely circumvent needing straps. And to me, it's just a better solution. If your gym has like the worst barbells ever and there's no grip, like you can make that decision. But to me, I choose to avoid it. There's things like mixed grip. There's like a lot of tools out there where you can actually get more benefit, in my opinion. So I choose to go more that route myself.
Yeah, even just thinking of the long-term game, like that's what I'm always thinking about for something like this. I'm like, you know what? If I embrace these workouts and like there were times in the early stages where my grip was just absolutely horrible, but I'm like, you know what? Like sometimes I'd even reset. Like if I just dropped the weight for the lat pull down, kind of make sure to just grab my hands, rub them together a little bit, just make sure they're all good, and then just hit some more reps. Like you kind of end up, it just becomes normalized. Like Josh was saying, with my quote previously, it's just, it becomes what you end up doing. So yeah, like for this client, I specifically started to add in some more grip related movements just to help him out because obviously he really wanted to improve it. So there are a bunch of great ones. When you're hanging on to a bar with the dead hang, as Josh mentioned, even isometric holds where you're holding yourself up at the very top will help you improve your pull-up strength, but also your grip strength. And then farmer's walks, like if you need a tutorial on that, it's cool on YouTube. We have a YouTube short, which I'll link down below. It's absolutely blowing up with Coach Josh, and it's like a 12-second video. And to me, farmer's walks are so underrated, and they hurt. They look a little bit easier, but they are such a great movement to help you with your grip strength as well.
Yeah. Alternatively, you could always just go and have a kid. It's a good solution. Hold them a lot. It's crazy just from like holding 30 pounds in a fixed bicep position. Like my forearms used to be destroyed, but now like my grip's always been good, but I swear it's like a different beast now. Cause I'm always like, people hold doors and be like, you need help? Cause I'll be carrying like 3 bags, a kid or 2. It's pretty funny. So a little joke there, but there's always a solution, right? And that's where programming can be so fun because you can directly program to improve your life. I used to have a lot of soon to be parents or new parents, and I'd actually have them do unilateral like farmers walks, or they're called suitcase carries, I guess. I don't know why I call them that. And independently, it works on your bracing. It's more realistic, like holding a kid or holding a kid in one of those car seats or whatever. So you can actually train to improve your position in life, especially if you're doing weird things, just the same as you can improve your imbalances in life. Like if you have hip issues, you can program around a lot around full range of motion for that, a lot of back postural, posterior chain work to actually improve that. So there's so much benefit from programming. And if you want to lose fat, you want to gain muscle, you want to get stronger in the gym, and you don't want to waste more time to do it, you don't want to suffer to do it, this is for you. Let us do all the hard work. Let us give you the exact instruction manual and roadmap you need to see the results you deserve. Like Kyle said, we're doing a test group. We want to get you through this fat loss phase, stack on muscle, and then get you into a body recomp so we can actually drive you up. So you can basically have your cake and eat it too. So to apply for this, if that is your goal in any regard, to lose that fat, gain that muscle, and improve yourself and be the best version of yourself, go ahead and fill out that application down below. First link in the description of this episode. Additionally, if you're still here, you're a real one. You're super fan. You're the best. You're a community member. You're a family. So to prove that you've made it to the end, I want to see how many people are super community family members of this podcast. Just comment down below your favorite emoji, your most used emoji. Even if it's ridiculous, I want to see it, and I want to see who made it to the end of this episode. I think it'll be real telling, and everyone else is going to be incredibly confused, but we're going to have a little inside joke that is going to be incredibly exciting. So just comment down below an emoji. You can do this on Spotify or YouTube. I don't believe you can do it on iTunes, but if you're on Spotify or YouTube, comment that down below. But thanks for tuning in with us. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.